All right, normally on this channel, we talk about investing, how to invest, how to make it big, why to invest, what things are gonna pump, and of course, how to stay safe in the market with your assets. But there's a big piece missing because most people don't even have the ability to invest. They haven't set up their life in a way that allows them to take the risk on assets that they need to take if they wanna be able to build a portfolio. In order to have success in crypto, which now in a world where Amazon just nuked 20% in a day and some of the biggest mega cap tech stocks are down almost as bad as Ethereum and Bitcoin, well, this applies to anyone who wants to invest, who wants to build a portfolio of assets, aka build wealth in the new economy. In order to do that in crypto, in tech stocks, in real estate, which is most likely going to come down aggressively over the next few years, if you want to take advantage of this bear market where a lot of people are going to make a lot of wealth, yet most of the people in the economy are going to be struggling too hard, we're not going to be in the position to buy stuff in order to build that wealth. Well, if you want to be in the category of people who take advantage of this time in the economy, you absolutely have to do these 5 things that I believe are the core. If you're starting with nothing or very little, living paycheck to paycheck, you do not have the ability to allocate a few $1,000s, $10,000 to build a portfolio of assets that can grow dramatically in the next bull run, well, this is a video for you. Fundamentally, you can't become financially free or build wealth unless you have 2 ingredients, which is 1, financial stability, and 2, capital to risk. So you need to be able to sustain yourself and you need to be able to take risks. The core of this is to build a way to make money that does not correlate with the amount of hours you work. You've heard this a lot. Now, to be clear, if you have a great job right now in this economy, you should absolutely keep it. Having a nice paying salary or a job that will pay you throughout this bear market is absolutely critical, because at the very least, you can save money by spending less than you make. That's like the simplest, easiest way to do that. We'll get into that in a second. So let's dive in here. First, establish a target. Now, if you don't pick a way that you're gonna go from nothing to something, you're pretty much flailing around. And picking a target, picking the right target is probably the most important step of these entire 5 steps. Because if you pick the wrong target, you're essentially working to the wrong goal. Even if you succeed, even if you get there, you're not gonna get what you want out of it, which is effectively to be able to take risks, to build a portfolio that could eventually make you and your family wealthy. Essentially, picking the wrong target or not thinking through the target you pick is failing to plan and thus planning to fail. I'm gonna be completely clear here. I'm not a make money online guru guy. I don't care to be that. I'm just giving you strategies that to me are very simple to enact, that anyone can do, and it can actually help you understand how to go down this path of building an environment around you that will allow you to take advantage of this crazy bear market, which we all know has big investors licking their lips. That's exactly what's going on now, is the richest people in the world are getting excited to buy depreciating assets, knowing that one day they're going to skyrocket in value. So here are some targets that take $0 to start your journey and to start building these skill sets and eventually making money with. Now, the first one that is painfully obvious that everyone knows is content creation. Building an audience is something that anyone can do. But obviously how to do that is super baffling for a lot of people. If you're going to build an audience, you also need to pick a target. Don't be a general content creator. Don't just take pictures of your lattes. Nobody cares. What you want to do is pick a topic that is meaningful in the world, that has a built-in community, and you want to become a subject matter expert on it. I think that that's the easiest way to access becoming a content creator. Now, if you want to make entertainment content, you could also do that, but I think becoming a subject matter creator is a much clearer and a much more measurable way to grow, because effectively there's already an audience for what you're doing. I picked cryptocurrency as my subject matter, but even within crypto and blockchain, there's a lot of sub niches now, like NFTs, like DeFi, Bitcoin, and so on. So as you can see, there's a lot of niches and targets you can go for, but picking a niche is absolutely critical. Now, this applies to more than content creation. The target you pick has to be something that you're genuinely interested in, that you actually like, because if you like it, you'll get a genuine sense of enjoyment out of doing it well, and you'll actually have the desire to be one of the best at doing it. You see, if you pick something that you don't like, you're gonna dread doing it, you're gonna do it poorly, and everyone else is always gonna be better than you at it. Pick something that you genuinely like. It's really, really simple. Now, another thing that I think people overestimate how difficult it is learning to edit videos. Editing videos and photos, but specifically videos, is really not that hard. Get Final Cut Pro on Mac and go on YouTube and watch some tutorials. It's actually really easy to develop some hardcore video editing skills, and you can then sell those skills to content creators, to businesses. It's something that anyone can use to level themselves up and become a very useful component of any modern online business. I'm gonna do a whole video on different targets and how to get started, but for now, here's a few off the top of my head. Dropshipping. Anyone can set up a dropshipping site. Effectively, you're targeting a customer to sell them things, but you're not actually buying it until they buy it. So you're just middlemaning transactions. There's a lot of of videos on dropshipping. I'm not a guru at it, but it's stuff you can look up online. Email marketing or marketing in any sense, learning to sell stuff is really important. Again, the key here is to do something that as you get better at it, the amount of time you put in does not actually limit the amount of money you can make. So if I sell something that's worth $10, well, I can make a split on that. But if I learn to sell really well, I could offer to sell things for a business that's selling things worth $1 million or more. Again, learning to sell stuff is a skill set as old as time, and it is something that anyone can use. And of course, if you're good at selling stuff, you can market yourself to businesses to sell on their behalf. Again, let other people spend money. You want to develop a skill set where the amount of time you put in does not limit the amount of money that comes out. For example, in content creation, the same video that takes the same amount of time could reach millions of viewers and make way more money. So you could sell cupcakes and lemonade, or you could sell real estate. And of course, closing that real estate deal might be worth a significant sum of money. Finally, the last thing I'll put in here is learning to code is something that people really over dramatize how hard it is. There are a ton of free resources out there to help you get started, to help you get your foot in the door. And the only thing I'll say is you want to start with JavaScript. So look up how to start learning JavaScript. It's something you can do at nights and on weekends. You can really build this skill set even if you have a full-time job. I highly recommend it. The stuff you can do with just a little bit of coding knowledge makes you super dangerous in the modern economy. All right, so that's picking a target. I know there were a lot of like sub parts of that, but you want to pick a target that you love, that if you do well will allow you to make more money. That has nothing to do with the amount of time spent. It has to do with the better you get at it, the more money you can make per minute that you spend. Second thing you want to do is grind and iterate. Now, the biggest part of this is to measure. Most people don't measure what they do and the output. For example, if I'm making content, I want to have a very specific thing I'm measuring with each change. Say I'm doing something different on my thumbnail. Well, that might mean I want more clicks. Maybe I'm doing something different within the video, which will demand more comments. For example, let me know what you think of this video in the comments section below. Or everybody, please smash the like button. Saying those things, I should be able to see a measurable change in the amount of comments or the amount of likes. Having clear inputs and outputs that you can measure the changes and how successful they are at creating different outputs from your work, that is the key. The biggest thing that people get lost in the sauce while trying to do these new things is that they don't measure how successful they are. They don't step back, look at how they can do things differently, make a change, and then measure that change. If each week you step back, look at your efforts, make strategic changes to how you're doing things, and then make sure to have numerical, measurable outputs on how successful those things are, that's how you end up going from a novice at something to someone who is a professional in a short amount of time. People dramatically overestimate usually what they can do in one day, and they dramatically underestimate what they can do in 1 year. By having slow and steady incremental changes in growth over the course of 1 year, most people can become fairly sufficient, if not doing things at a professional level, good enough to get paid or at least sustain themselves within that 1 year's time. Number 3 is the easiest to describe, but actually one of the hardest to do, which is limit your expenses. The easiest way to do this is to go to your credit card statement and to look at what you spent and to say, which one of these things can I cross off? The big unlock for me with learning to limit my expenses was realizing that it wasn't the things that I needed, but it was the feeling of buying those things that is why I was buying them. For example, going to that cool cafe is almost an emotional experience, and it's not really about the coffee or the food that you get there. You get the same amount of caffeine in a cup of homebrew that you do from Starbucks, but the prices and the emotional experience are dramatically different. If you can look at yourself from a third-party perspective and say, okay, do I really need that experience, or do I actually want the product at the end? These are tough times, these are tricky times, and the more you can identify things that you really need and that you actually get value from, those are the things that you want to keep. Most people in modern society have some form of consumer addiction or this connection to that emotion you get from buying and spending. The more you can see that emotion for what it is, the easier it is to cross things off your list and realize what matters. Again, if saving money was easy, everyone would do it. But most people, and I don't want to say all people, but most people out there can actually look at what they spend and cross some things off. That's really key. Spending less than you make is one of the easiest ways to actually separate out some money to build a portfolio of assets over the bear market. And that's why even if you don't want to do any of this entrepreneurial stuff, you can stay at your job and spend less than you make, and you're still unlocking the ability to invest in crypto, in stocks, in different assets that could actually build real wealth after the market corrects. Whether that's next year, in 5 years, or 10 years, you will have the ability to do so simply by limiting your expenses. The fourth thing that I think is really critical here is physical health. Now, everybody's different. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what the big unlocks are. I'll tell you, for me, I like to fast once a week. I just will have 24 hours where I don't eat once a week. Everyone has their own things that work for them, but staying in shape or getting in shape, managing your weight in general, getting your blood flowing and getting some vitamin D each day is a great way to stay in the game. And that leads me to number 5, which is of course mental health and motivation. This is the biggest killer that nobody talks about, because in anyone can try some of these strategies for 1 month, for 2 months, for 6 months, even for 1 year. But to do it consistently over years, which is what generally leads people to higher levels of success, to higher levels of mastery, to do those things requires motivation. This goes back to picking your target. If you pick the right target, you'll remain motivated and you'll remain excited to do it. If you pick the wrong target, eventually it will become a slog, you'll give in, you'll become inconsistent, and you won't ever reach the level of mastery to actually have success with it. It's also good to step away for a second. Realize if you've been pushing yourself too hard. Make sure that you're connecting with the people around you and taking in feedback from others. I put up a pretty significant and very personal mental health thread on my Twitter because I think it's something that very few people talk about, but it's one of the biggest components of surviving a bear market or an economic downturn is making sure that you're monitoring and tending to your mental health, or you're just not going to make it the distance. You'll capitulate into your old habits and you won't be in a position to take advantage of when these assets eventually come back. These 5 things, picking a target, grinding and iterating, limiting expenses, physical and mental health, those are the keys. During the last crypto bear market, I picked the niche of content creation. I was able to build an audience, build a platform. It took years before it actually all clicked and came together. I limited my expenses dramatically during that period. I was spending as close to $0 as I could. And in the process, I was able to grow a platform that ended up becoming a career that I love. For those looking to do the same, I believe the opportunity is out there. Again, let me know what you think about this type of video in the comment section below. I believe that these 5 practices, if done properly and consistently over the bear market, can allow anyone to sustain themselves and build capital that they can then take a risk on. Of course, doing these things is a first step to then doing the next thing, which is buying the right stuff. But to be honest, if you're in durable long-term assets like the S&P 500 index or Bitcoin and Ethereum, things that I believe long-term are only headed upwards, well, the missing ingredient there is being able to invest in them in the first place. So of course, these 5 practices, I believe, put you in a position to do so. Of course, positioning yourself to invest is a component of investing itself. As always, I'm EllioTrades. You can find more crypto-specific stuff on Twitter at EllioTrades, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.